The benefit of having a doubleheader is that you've at least got one game which went down to the wire. Welcome to today's episode of End of Days Play, and this is Uninvited Opinions. So, Nags, we've been crying out for a close game between two teams for quite some time, and today we got to see that in the first of the two games today between the Kings 11 Punjab and the Kolkata Knight Riders. It was tense towards the end, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching the game.
Yes, it was close, no doubt. But I thought I would prefer it to be less of a heartbreak. I felt for the Kings 11 boys, and I felt for how hard they tried, and yet they ended up on the wrong side of the result. I believe even after so many hours of the game, we can't necessarily lay our fingers on where things went wrong.
Yeah, I think they had a fantastic start today with the ball. They were bowling really well. They kept the KKR batsmen under wraps. Shubman Gill had a steady start, but at the other end, he did not find a lot of support. And until Dinesh Karthik came in and gave that impetus at the end of the innings, it felt that KKR were going to be kept to a total in the region of 130, 140 at best.
Yes. So in terms of team selection, I believe Kings 11 came as close to being as comprehensive a team selection as possible. They've been like fiddling with that all-rounder role, but today they brought in both Mujib and Chris Jordan. And Chris Jordan was clearly given a responsibility of taking care of the death overs. Although he did leak a few in the end, but it was still one of the better days for him. And the younger guns are actually taking the mantle upon themselves to lift this side. So Arshdeep Singh is a very talented young cricketer, and he has a heart for a contest. That is what was evident. He had a fantastic opening spell, and also the 19th over that he was bowling to the likes of Dre Russ and Dinesh Karthik. He had a clear plan. He knew, and even the batsmen knew what he was trying, but they still couldn't do much. And so that was very pleasing to see. Ravi Bishnoi has been the find of the tournament for Kings 11, of course. And I'm sure he's going to have a bright future ahead of him. So all in all, if you see, this was probably as close to being the best bowling performance by Kings 11.
And I think there's a clear pattern established for KKR. They like to give their bowlers a defendable total, and 164 today was a very competitive total given that it was played at Abu Dhabi. Shubman Gill played his role to perfection. He is given the anchor role. He is expected to be someone who is expected to play out throughout the innings.
Agreed. And I believe after so many permutations and combination, KKR finally got the batting order that we were looking for, and probably is going to suit them best going into the tournament further. They got Morgan to bat at 4, which is what we've been asking for, and then followed by Dinesh Karthik and Andre Russell. Stitched together a useful partnership with Gill, and then that gave a very clear role for Dinesh Karthik, which he's quite comfortable doing. If Andre Russell doesn't click, there is no other power hitter as such to finish the innings for KKR, and in that role, Dinesh Karthik actually did a very good job to give the necessary impetus to finish the innings, to give a competitive total for the bowlers to bowl at. So that said, I think they've got the batting order sorted, and I think it's safe to say now Narayan batting at top as an experiment has come to an end for good, I believe.
Looking at the Kings 11 innings, it's hard to pinpoint where they went wrong, because they had a fantastic opening stand between KL Rahul and Mayank Agarwal. And things were going quite smoothly for them. It felt that they had the run rate under control. Mayank Agarwal, one can't fault him for trying to go for the big hit, because he was trying to bridge the gap between the runs needed and the balls available. But somehow, once, I think probably the key moment was Pooran trying to blast Sunil Narayan out of this planet, which unfortunately I think they should have tried to sort of play him out and take chances at the other end. But equally at the other end, Prasidh Krishna was bowling fantastically. And between him and Narayan, despite the presence of two set batsmen in Nicholas Pooran and KL Rahul, they just snuffed them out, applied the squeeze, and just snatched a dramatic victory for KKR. And Kings 11 were left to scratch their heads. Where did they go wrong?
If I may seriously pinpoint one flaw, possibly a tactical flaw, is that I can't quite still fathom why Prab Simran Singh batted ahead of Glenn Maxwell. He was actually slated to to bat in at 3, but Pooran came ahead of him. Why couldn't Maxwell have come ahead of him? He's a 20-year-old kid, and this was too tense a situation, and there was so much at stake for Kings 11 in this game. And I thought a few extra deliveries for Maxwell could have actually made life easier for Rahul at the other end. That could be the tactical error that costed Kings 11 the game.
Looking at the man of the match, Dinesh Karthik was the choice for today. And I don't think we could differ too much. I think he gave the innings impetus. He gave them a defendable total. But equally, I would have been pleased if they'd selected Prasidh Krishna or Sunil Narayan for the man of the match. I think they both bowled splendidly as well towards the end of the innings.
I think the striking similarity between the two last victories for KKR has been how cool Dinesh Karthik has been through the innings while the other team was chasing, and they looked poised to go ahead and win that game. For that, I think extra credit goes to Dinesh Karthik, and which is why I kind of agree. In addition to his batting impetus, his leadership qualities and the way he managed his bowlers, but as a captain, he remained cool through the situation and somehow kind of stole those victories for his team. I think Dinesh Karthik was rightly awarded the man of the match.
Looking at the second game today, it was between the Royal Challengers Bangalore and the Chennai Super Kings, a clash between two of the biggies in Indian cricket, Virat Kohli and MS Dhoni. Unfortunately, it didn't quite live up to the billing. Virat Kohli performed, MS Dhoni didn't. Virat Kohli's side stood up, MS Dhoni's didn't. So, your thoughts on this game, Nags?
I'm just perplexed by how similar the story has been for CSK in all those defeats that they've suffered in this tournament. They are the only side that has chased all the games that they've played, and all the defeats have been due to a fact that they haven't quite caught up with the required rate or the tempo to begin with, and they have left too much too late in the innings to cover up. So even today, they of course lost those openers that they depend heavily on for a good start, and that was actually due to some good bowling from RCB. But then it was very interesting to see the long partnership that Jagadish, the newcomer, who came in for Jadhav and Raidu, put together. They obviously wanted to stabilize, but they took the innings too deep at a very sedate pace, and that meant that people who came in later, like the likes of Dhoni, Sam Curran, Jadeja, just had to go from ball one, and they necessarily did not succeed, and that is what resulted in CSK's defeat. Having said that, RCB bowled very well. They are actually now realizing the actual template on what bowling combinations work for them. So Washington Sundar came good yet again in the power play. He is turning out to be splendid with the lengths that he's bowling. Both Faf du Plessis and Shane Watson like the ball in their arc, but they had to fetch the ball from him, and that is what resulted in their downfall. So that was beautiful to see. And Chris Morris was a very inspired addition to their side. So he opened the bowling, and he was basically setting the pace. In spite of Saini being the quickest bowler, he was actually very accurate, and he bowled up front, he bowled at the death. So it was very pleasing to see.
I think what would have pleased RCB even more is the fact that today they overcame a top order wobble, and despite the loss of wickets, they sort of saw through that difficult phase. Virat Kohli stood firm at one end, and he was just looking for someone to try and build some partnerships together. And towards the end of their innings, he found an able partner in Shivam Dube. And then until I think the 16th over, CSK had kept RCB under wraps. But then in those last 4 overs, Virat just exploded. So I think a total which should have been probably between 140 and 150 ended up being 169, which gave RCB real momentum going into their innings. And Kohli must have been pleased, sort of playing this kind of an innings where his strike rate was well above his normal 130s, 140s. And and he this win must really please him, because usually you'd find that in matches of this kind, if they've got a top order wobble, then they end up sort of not playing to their strengths. But But today they sort of saw through the difficult phase and made sure that they put a competitive total on board. For RCB, I think their template is also quite clear. It's something that we've discussed previously. I think they want to bat first, make sure that they've got a good total on board, and then give their bowlers a target to defend, which I think has given them success in the games that they've won so far. And I think that's what they want to continue.
And another interesting observation, which is not specific to this game per se, is that the pitches are slowing down a little, they are tiring a little. So you can't necessarily expect such high scoring affairs now going into the tournament. And also that the bowlers have hit the straps finally. So it was the batsmen who were actually cashing in on some wayward bowling to begin with. But now the bowlers are getting their accuracy and their lengths and their precision right. And that is what is now leading to more restricted scoring from all teams. So that's an interesting pattern, and I think now the contest between the bat and ball is thankfully more even.
Absolutely, can't agree more. And I think without a doubt, Virat Kohli is a choice for the player of the match. I think it was his innings which basically set up the game for RCB, and deservedly so. Looking at tomorrow's games, we've got another double header. The first of those between the Sunrisers Hyderabad and the Rajasthan Royals at Dubai. Quick pick, Nags. Who are you going to go for? SRH or RR?
Go with SRH.
All right, I'm going to stick with SRH as well. And then the second game is going to be between the Delhi Capitals and the Mumbai Indians. Top of the table clash, mouth-watering clash that we've been looking forward to. This is going to be a more difficult pick, and this game is going to be played at Abu Dhabi. Who are you going to back to come good tomorrow?
I've been backing DC right from the beginning, so I'll stick with that.
Well, I'll go for Mumbai. I think they've got more experience playing on this wicket side. And that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this episode, please like and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel to keep more videos coming your way. And stay tuned for more episodes. See you again tomorrow.